Welcome to Chemical Reactions, the podcast where we explore the latest insights and innovations in liquid bulk transportation, chemical manufacturing, and other facets of the chemical industry. Presented by Matlack Leasing, your partner for liquid bulk trailer leasing solutions. Now here's your host, Alex Steakley.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chemical Reactions, where we talk about all the different facets of the chemical industry. Today I've got a longtime friend, Carl Gerken with Portage Trading Company. How's it going, man?
Good morning, Alex. How are you, man?
I mean, we've known each other, what, 7, 8 years?
Yeah, thereabouts, I think.
Yeah, you were at ChemQuest at the time.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you've kind of been in the chemical industry from the jump since you started your career, right?
Not right out of school, but pretty quickly after, a couple years after, cut my teeth out in oil field chemicals for about 5 years. So
yeah, you were that was Clariant?
Yep. I was working with Clariant in the Gulf of Mexico on some deep water facilities, doing all the chemical treatment programs from flow assurance down on the ocean floor, and then topside when we brought all the oil, water, and gas up, did all the fluid separation and all the treatment of the chemically treating the oil and gas on its way out.
How'd you make your way from there to, was ChemQuest the next stop?
It was. So, like I said, did that for about 5 years with Clariant. It's great. Drank from a fire hose, learned out in the middle of the ocean how to play with chemicals, and then got married. And at the time, my wife said she wanted to talk about settling down and having kids, and my schedule was 14 on, 14 off, so she didn't want me gone half the year. And so got an opportunity to go work for the folks over at ChemQuest Chemicals, which is a contract manufacturing company. They recently, within the last few years, got bought by CTEX, which is just a larger contract manufacturer. So did that for about 3.5, 4 years, and really got to learn more other facets of the chemical space, oil and gas blends, water treatment blends, industrial chemical, specialty chemical. Just really got to see there's a whole bigger world of chemicals out there than just the oil field. So
yeah, and then now you're Portage Trading. You're owner. How'd you kind of make the jump from W-2 employee to owning a chemical trading and distribution company?
Oh, good question, man. I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. My father, he's an entrepreneur as well. I actually told my wife prior to getting married that at some point in my career I was going to go that route. Just always like to solve problems and always like to do different things, and knew at some point I was going to go out on my own and just and try to have some fun doing it and try to build something. And so yeah, I while I was at ChemQuest, picked up a really cool mentor. And he had told me once that if 4 or 5 different people tell you about the same idea, there's probably a business behind it. And then I also had a customer at the time that turned into a business partner, now former business partner, who you actually know pretty well as well. So that was the first foray out into entrepreneurship. We started a company together, importing granulated chlorine products, and did that for about 2 years, grew the company, did pretty well as far as growing it. And then we had some differences in the way we wanted to see the business grow. And so at that point, I left there and started Portage about a month later. So we're going on about 2 years now.
Nice. Yeah. So for the people like me that are a little ignorant when it comes to this side of the business, like what do you do as a chemical trading company? Who are your potential customers? Who are your vendors? I mean, don't give away your secrets, but what's a day in the life of a chemical trading company look like?
So that's a fairly loaded question. I guess we could spend a lot of time on that, but at a high level, for us and for Portage Trading, we're focused really on customers and what they're looking for, and we try to be a good tool for them, and utilize our strengths and our networks to help them out. Obviously, there's the strategic sourcing, strategic supplier relationships on the other side of that. But as far as Portage itself, when we talk about who we are and what we do, we really focus on raw materials, and some of them aren't even technically chemicals, but kind of group everything into chemicals and raw materials. We work in multiple industries in multiple different spaces, and so we really go to the customer, see what their needs are. I've got a pretty, what I would say, unique background, just in the sense of from oil and gas to contract manufacturing. When I was in contract manufacturing, I was able to see a lot of different types of formulas, different types of chemicals, what industries those went into. And so that gave me a little bit better understanding of how the different chemistries are used. And then I've actually got a couple guys on the team with me as well. One that's got about 30 years experience in oil and drilling side. Another who's actually got a PhD and spent a lot of time at Nalco Water and a few other places. And then another gentleman that has been more in the industrial HI&I, and then some glycols and antifreeze coolant space. And so we really try to utilize our unique networks and backgrounds to be able to put together solutions for our customers. We're not line card salesmen. I actually really hate using line cards. I'm being forced finally to put one together, but we try to go in and attack the problems as from a customer standpoint, what's bothering them and what's keeping them up at night. And if it's a tank lease, if it's supply chain running chemicals either via liquid bulk or drive-in, if it's, hey, we're buying 5 or 6 of these raw materials and we have an opportunity maybe to blend them down for them so that they can buy one package solution versus buying a bunch of different raw materials. If it's lead time and we just need to help them source something quickly, or if there's longer term volumes and projects, we can look at sourcing and putting together the whole supply chain, import side or domestic. And so for us, we're not trying to be the next Univar or Brentag. We're trying to kind of hyper focus on more of that specialty and unique sourcing and supply chain relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're the first one that kind of told me a sales strategy that's always stuck with me is like, hey, first, let's just try to connect people, right? I mean, even if you can't help them right away, connect people that might need each other's services, and then that makes you sticky. I mean, is that kind of your still game plan to this day? I mean, I know it's served you well so far.
I thought you said we weren't talking about the secret sauce.
I know.
No, man. I right, wrong, or indifferent. I've always taken the approach. I'm not good at a lot of things. I'll tell you that. Be the first person to tell you that. And I'm not even a chemist by trade, or nor do I claim to know how to mix molecules together, other than some of the stuff I've seen along the way. But I've always been a big believer just in heavily networking and just being a connector. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting people, and I genuinely enjoy hearing their stories and what they do. I just think there's a lot of things out there in the world. There's a lot of different ways to make money. There's a lot of different industries and just stuff that I don't know. And so actually one of the guys on my team, stealing a line from him, is just to always have a mind of curiosity. And to tie that back to your point is there's a lot of times where we can't help customers, or we're not the right fit for them. Mm-hmm. And in getting sticky, as you said, with them is more of, I'd rather just be their first phone call.
Yeah.
Whether it's, hey, can you help me? Do you know anybody that does this, or can you do that? Because after enough times, they're going to call you one day and say, hey, I've got something I need you for. And so it's pretty simple stuff, but if you do what you say you're going to do and just help connect folks, then eventually down the road, they'll help you. I don't know. I think it was Stephen Covey that said that, or it might have been Zig Ziglar. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yep, exactly.
Kind of thing. So,
yeah. No, I mean, I know I've adopted that practice even today at Matlack. I mean, we do a lot of tank leases to manufacturers that they'll call me and say, hey, I know you don't do trucking, but who would you recommend? We've got a trailer that we need moved in this area or this area. I mean, you've called me with that stuff. So,
yeah.
It'd be easy for me to say, oh, I don't do trucking, and I wish I could help you, but I can't. But I mean, how much benefit and how much really extra work is it on me to make that one extra phone call and say, oh, you should call CAG or Hennif or whoever, because they've got great coverage in that area, right? I mean, and it makes you sticky with your customer.
Yeah, well, I mean, and think about it just from a time standpoint, right? We're all going so fast and doing so many things and so hyper focused on our job. It making an introduction for somebody or helping them get to that source can carve out so much time. I mean, think about, sales guys too, cold calling folks or trying to get into the door. They say it always takes 4 to 5 touches, but if I know you and I can send a warm email or even hop on a 3-way phone call and just make that introduction, it just makes the process go so much faster. It saves people time. And also there's that trust factor in there, right? If I have a good relationship with a customer or supplier and I bring you into the fold or somebody else that I know that I've done business for or I've seen and I've been in the marketplace with for a long time and trust,
Yeah.
automatically gives you a bit of trust with that supplier,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And so it's super helpful. And again, I truly believe it always comes back around. And you're right. I mean, even with you and I, we've looked at some stuff on the tank leasing side for different projects that we're standing up, and also just on the transportation side. And for you, with Matlack, if you can point some of your chemical customers towards some folks on the freight side of the business,
Yeah.
and they grow, well, guess what? That freight company might need to lease a couple more
Yeah,
trailers.
no, I tell freight companies all the time. I'm like, hey, if it's good for you, it's good for me, right?
Right.
If you grow your business, that usually means you're going to add trucks, and
Right.
trucks
Yeah.
got to pull trailers.
Yeah.
So
And hey, give me a call by the way when you do that.
exactly.
Give me first shot at that.
100%. I mean,
So and that's not a bad thing, right? You're helping them out. You're helping them solve a problem and a need, and trying to give them business, and so you just would hope down the line they'd potentially reciprocate that.
yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's it's worked for me, I guess, up to this point. So I'll keep doing
Yeah,
it.
I mean, no, I tell everybody that best connector I know in the game is you. I mean, you're 2 degrees or 1 degree separated from 95% of the people that I've met. So that's a testament to, like you said, how outgoing you are and how willing to help you are. I mean, that's just one of your core values, it seems like. But you brought up freight. What is working with freight companies and transportation companies? How does that kind of help formulate deals that you're working on, or help bring in raw materials that you're trying to import? What does that look like to you?
Man, that is and I don't mean to sound, just over the top about it, but it can make or break a company, especially our size, right? We're 2 years into this, and there's a lot of people, especially on commodities. There's a lot of people that can be around the same price as you, and so it's like, what's the next differentiator? What are some things that you can do that's different than other folks, as far as follow up, as customer service, and I mean, just one of the big asterisks always in our business, man, is freight, for a couple reasons. If you're looking at it from a liquid bulk side, and I hate to say this, but I've run into it more lately than not. It's just, drivers and even some of these brokers or asset carriers, they're an extension of your company. They're an extension of you to your customer. And so it's twofold. On our side, we need to do our due diligence. We need to make sure that we have all the questions answered properly so that we can set them up for success at pickup and delivery. And on the same time, they have to understand too that you're representing us out to our customer. And so if there's any issues or things happen, which inevitably in transportation, things always happen,
you're dealing
right?
with people and machinery, right? Something's always going to pop up.
So there's always just has to be that line of communication, and I think we've done a decent job of finding some decent carrier partners on a lot of stuff, and on both sides, on dry van and on bulk liquid. But man, it's tough. It's getting tougher just with the way that the world works these days, and with what's going on at a macro level. But man, they're an integral part of our success or failure. And so, I mean, I think they could probably show or share a little bit more love every once in a while.
Yeah.
But also, you're working sometimes with hazardous chemicals. You're working with mechanical equipment. You're working with pumps and trucks and all that stuff. And so there's just a lot of moving parts in that. But it's a huge. It can be if you find the right folks, could be a huge differentiator for your business. And if you don't, or if you always just go for lowest price or who's right there right then it can cause some pain and struggles, and we've been on both ends of that stick.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I mean, I've said it from my time in the transport side of the industry, dealing with people like you and the smaller to mid-sized companies is such a big opportunity for people because you're not going out for RFP like with some of these giant chemical distribution companies. You know, I'm not working against 27 other carriers bidding against all of them. I've got a direct line, you know, to the owner that I can talk, hey man, with this lane, I've got to be at this price. I know you needed to be here. Let's work on it. And it's not 27 emails back and forth. It's a phone call, right? Which usually, even in today's technologically driven world, phone call and face to face always gets stuff done a lot quicker.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, and I agree. And I'm willing to pay again, right, on the unit economics and scale of each lane. You know, I'm willing to pay a couple $100 extra bucks if it's folks that have done a good job for me, and I know it's going to, again, alleviating the pain and stress of the supply chain for the customer is the end game. And so if that is a couple $100 a load more for me with someone I know has done a good job in the past and is going to take care of me and my customer, then that's a no-brainer for me. So I agree with you, man. And again, we're also, I would add to that, we're hungry. We're out, we're trying to put food on the table for our families. And so we're not saying that some of these bigger corporations don't need to make money as they do, but we're down in the trenches fighting it out. And so, partnering with folks that we see a lot of value with and that can do a good job. And again, I think at the end of the day, it can be a little bit more profitable for you guys too, because as we grow and as other companies grow, if you work with them, then you grow with them, right? There's some loyalty there.
Yeah, and yeah, you know, you get in on the ground floor with somebody. I mean, you stay sticky with them. I mean, that's the whole name of the game. But the other side of that is importing your raw materials. What are you looking out for? What do you kind of see on the horizon with uncertain economic times, the tariffs, everything on the import side? What are you doing to mitigate risks where you can? You know, what's that look like for you guys?
Great question. So, first of it, to mitigate risk, it's always nice to have the PO before you put something on the water, but that's, we can't always do that. Yeah. It's tough, man. With the current administration, I can understand some of the things that they're trying to do and what they're trying to get at. I think it's overall causing a little bit more short-term discomfort than it will long-term. I think most things will shake out. I'm kind of circling September timeframe, you know, with a lot of the 90-day stuff. We'll see kind of where all that lands. In the last month and a half, I would say that it's already kind of started to calm down a little bit.
Well, yeah, it went from like 145% to China, and now it's down.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was like a yo-yo there for about 3 or 4 weeks, and you know, similar to like last year with the ILA, the dock strikes and all that other stuff. I mean, there's so many unforeseen things that can happen, and it greatly affects our business because I can't take a multi-million-dollar position on a product and bring it in when I think times are good and house it. I'm more just in time, right? And so I've got to rely on other traders and other suppliers, and again, building relationships with people in all facets of the business because I may need to pick up the phone and call them, and sometimes they do that for us as well. So from that standpoint, it's affected us about, you know, we're bringing in a little bit less right now just because we're trying to see what shakes out, but where there's pain, there's also opportunity. So we've spent that gap of time trying to bolster some of our domestic relationships and grow that. So we've been working that down, and it's been going pretty well. And then you know, just from an importing standpoint in general, I've imported to a lot of the different ports in the U.S. from the East Coast to Gulf Coast to West Coast, and I'm pretty married to the Gulf Coast and the Southeast coast. Yeah, I really like Savannah. I like Houston.
Is that just ease of working with the ports? How quick boxes are getting out and ISO tanks are getting out?
With the ports, with chassis availability, with transportation companies, and just ease of getting in and out. Yeah, the West Coast has been fairly difficult. think we know why. There's always extra fees here and there. There's always, you gotta. There's certain regulatory issues that they have. I don't know, well, issues is the right word, but different regulations that they have on their trucking and trailer sides that are more stringent than they are across the rest of the U.S. And so sometimes that affects availability on being able to pick stuff up on time. And then, like anywhere else, you got time limits on things, especially when it comes to containers and ISOs and getting stuff in and out of the port. And so that stuff can add up quickly and can cut into profitability really quickly.
Yeah.
So.
When I know from our time working a little bit closer together when we were both at, the C level at a couple of companies, you did a lot on the import-export side and dray. How do you think that's helped you now at your current role?
I mean, overall, just the network. I mean, the amount of people that and companies that we worked with. Also, that's a whole nother animal, man. That's just speed and timing and finesse, and there's a lot that goes into that. And when you get inundated with that all at one time, you gotta rely on people to do their job. And it was fun to learn. It was fun to do. Highly stressful at some points, but it was good. But yeah, I met a lot of different folks in the Gulf Coast and on the East Coast from the drayage standpoint, and it was it's helped this business, just knowing that that's another weapon that we have and something else that we can utilize as we grow and move forward on the importing side. And we don't have that much of a learning curve on that piece right now because we've met those folks over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at a transport company, the owner always said, man, when you're selling transport, you should spend a day or two with a truck driver to see what their day looks like. And I think for the chemical industry, like, hey, if you're a chemical sales guy, you should spend a day with your supply chain and logistics coordinator to see what really goes into getting those loads to and from customers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage, right? You try not to overpromise and underdeliver. And so if you can understand what's really and truly going on, and back to your point previously about being in that role prior to starting Portage, that was just another thing, is I got to see everything from soup to nuts and the whole process. And so you value that a little bit more, and you can understand better what those intricacies are and kinks are. And it's funny, because right now I've got one of the guys that runs around with me was getting kind of frustrated because we were having some transportation issues and some things. And so over the last month and a half, I've just started CCing him on all the correspondence with,
to show him what goes into it.
And it's funny, man. He called me the other day and was just like, "Man, that is crazy." And I said, "I get it."
Yeah.
And sometimes, a flat tire here, or they had this or that. And he just, not just him in general, right? But people in general, especially when you're talking about a commissioned salesperson who makes their money by stuff.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, or it can cost money. And then you look at that and you're like, that's food off my table. And so getting to see all of that, it was a little bit eye opening, and there's a little more appreciation around it. But again, it's just going back to collectively, can you help each other out, and can you help each other win? Because the more you can do that, then the more wins you stack up on top of each other.
Yeah. And then I want to go back to, you talked about network, and there's a group of guys that you've introduced me to, that y'all kind of all run in the same circles. I don't know if I can say chemical mafia, I don't know if that's trademarked or not, but
someone will appreciate that. That you said that.
Yeah, somebody's gonna shoot us a text and be happy that we shouted them out. But I've always found it interesting that y'all all kind of play in the same sandbox, but find a way to divide it. And I've always thought y'all's world was a little more cutthroat than it actually seems to be. I mean, can you speak a little bit about that and how you kind of navigate those relationships with those guys and other guys in the industry that you're working together with on products, but then you're competing on other products? They can be a customer, they can be a vendor. I mean, it seems like it's such an, entangled web.
Yeah, it really is. And not to simplify chemical trailer leasing or transportation, but from someone that's outside looking in, it seems pretty cut and dry.
It's
I mean,
a little bit more click, point click. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the chemical side, I really learned this more when I got into the contract manufacturing side with ChemQuest and just opened up and began to understand how massive the chemical industry is and the different facets of it. And there's just so many. We can go on for hours today about the different industries, but to put it into perspective on kind of why there's that entanglement and why there's crossover opportunities and what I'll call co-opetition, or a customer can be a supplier and vice versa. Take citric acid, for example. That's a product that we keep in our portfolio. If you've ever had a Sour Patch Kid, it's the stuff that's on the outside of a Sour Patch Kid. If you've ever had an energy drink or really any drink, a lot of times it has citric acid in it.
Yeah.
It's also used downhole in oil and gas applications. It's also used as a weak acid. If you solution it to a certain percentage, it can be used as a weak acid to clean out pipes and clean out other things in industrial applications. It's used as a pH adjustment in water treatment. So as you start to talk about that stuff, you're like, man, this goes across all these different types of industries.
Yeah.
And then to back up into the chemical side, again, there's water treatment, specialty chem, industrial, ag, oil and gas, food and beverage, pharmaceuticals. And so that just widens your scope there. And then a couple of the guys, there's contract manufacturing space. There's the co-product space, which is a really interesting space that one of the guys that we work with, they take co-products and prime materials, they mix them up and blend them up to customer specifications and sell it. They do a lot in the mining space, a lot in the construction, asphalt type space. And so that's a niche in itself. But they also they have certain positions on certain raw materials or chemicals that they buy a lot of because that goes in their blends. Well, I might not necessarily buy a lot of those, or that might not be in the portfolio of my strategic suppliers, but he does something completely different than I do. However, if I go to a customer and they ask me for a typical or some type of amine or some type of glycol or something else that it's not in our wheelhouse, I don't have to tell them no. I can go to him because I know he has good buying power on it because that's stuff they use. And then there might be a marriage there to say, hey man, can I buy that from you, or can you make an introduction, or vice versa? So there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, but again, I don't say that we don't ever run into each other or step on each other's toes a little bit, but I also have the theory of abundance, man. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to work on. So there's space for everyone.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it, if anybody says the market's saturated, they're not looking hard enough, right?
Yeah.
There's so much out there, and if you just flip over a couple of stones, you find 20 new potential customers, right?
Well, and like you said earlier, people do business with people still.
Yep.
Picking up the phone, sitting down with people face to face still goes a long way. There's always going to be that percentage of people that aren't going to buy from you.
Yeah.
Because they just either don't like you don't have something that they can take, or they just are inundated and have their people that they do their business with. And there's just that. Then there's that wide gap, I'd say 60 to 70%, that might have some good supply relationships, but are open to doing business, or open to finding other sources, or open to saving money potentially, or however else, or need help on the supply chain side. And then there's that 15 to 20% that are always going to be yours until you do something wrong, right?
Yeah.
That you've built that relationship and have. And so there's that out there. You just got to get out and do it.
Yeah. And then you brought up your portfolio, and I don't think we touched on it earlier. How do you kind of figure out what your niche is going to be as a trading company? I know you said, whatever the customer needs, but is it based on your relationship with suppliers? How are you kind of navigating where you want to be in the space?
Yeah, so a lot of it right now is very customer driven, but also it is based on supply chains that we have, right? So it's a probably not a good answer, but originally I would tell you that I would rather have one just smoking awesome supplier, because especially if we go back and talk a little bit, we'll take a quick tangent and we'll get back to it. But you talk about COVID and the COVID times, there was a lot of people that came out of the woodworks, and there was a lot of companies that started just because at that time it was, I don't really care how much it costs to an extent, and I don't care much about anything else, but can you get the product and can you get it to me and through your supply chain, and how quickly can you do that? I mean, I know you were doing some tank leasing back then as well. And I mean, stuff was flying off the shelf like hotcakes, especially when we're talking about ethanol and methanol and the hand sanitizer craze. We don't need to dive into that, but I mean, it's those markets get wild sometimes, and and so, so there's that. And at that time, it was just, hey, who could get it to me and who could get it reasonably. And so, I still am very big on strategic suppliers, and being in Houston in the chemical industry for about 15 years now, I've been able to, as a smaller company, I think we've done a decent job of being able to get some really good supply relationships, and we're painting with a pretty wide brush right now. I think if we get a chance again to talk here in the next 2 years, I'm sure it'll look completely different, but we are doing a lot of trading right now. We are getting into what I'd call more traditional distribution. We are taking some positions on products, and we do warehouse and stuff. Coming from the contract manufacturing world, I am a big proponent of third party relationships and letting the people that are good at what they do it. Yeah. But again, it's finding those in your supply chain that are really good at what they do, because you've got to rely on them and lean on them to do it. And so probably not the best answer to that question, but it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. And you talk about leaning on, your vendor and supplier relationships. I mean, especially the importance of a good carrier on the liquid bulk side. I mean, how many times has somebody said, oh yeah, that commodity can go in a 407. And then I'm like, whoa. Hey, you might want to check that again. That's going to pit out a barrel real bad.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, we were just talking about a project you and I together the last few weeks for a plant startup. There's particular chemistries that are just heavy acids or heavy bases that are corrosive, and they can have issues. And so that's part of our job for our customers, is to make sure that we're putting the right equipment, the right products in the right place safely, and so that they don't have to worry about it.
You brought up kind of future. Talking in a couple of years, it could look way different. I mean, in a perfect scenario, what's Portage Trading Company look like in 5 or 10 years? What are y'all doing at that point?
We are moving into more into some blended products and chemistries. I'd love to for us to have maybe some of our own products that we can go to market with, and get a little bit more specialized. We move a good bit of commodities right now, just because that's kind of the low-hanging fruit and foot in the door type deal, and moving more into some specialty products. Really interested in the coolant, antifreeze, heat transfer space is interesting. Okay. With some of the positions we have right now, and more so not traditional industrial, but more data centers. Yeah. We were talking before this a little bit about AI and different stuff, and that's only going to continue to grow, computing and that. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know there's massive amounts of energy and heat that go into
those centers.
And so and keeping those processors cool enough so that they can do their job is a big problem. And so that's kind of an interesting, just long-term pet project. And then also, going back to customer service and that, I think down packing or bringing in products at a larger scale via rail, via ISO tanks, containers in, being able to break stuff down, that's interesting. I don't know if Portage will directly get into that, but that's something that's interesting. But I think, I don't know that I can tell you exactly where we'll be from a product portfolio standpoint, but we'll stay pretty lean. We're working on a couple. I'd say we're pretty big in oil and gas, on the drilling side, maybe a little bit of production. We have a couple different production stuff. We're getting pretty big. We're working on some industrial applications. We're a little bit here and there in the fuels market space, and then some of these like coolant and antifreeze type stuff. So move a lot of amines, glycols, some acids, some chloralkali products, so bases and acids when it comes to that water
And
treatment.
are y'all staying regional, or you got customers kind of all over the country?
We've got some customers all over the U.S. Just depends on what makes sense. There's products again that are regional. You know, a lot of your chloralkali products are going to be regional,
Yeah.
based on where the plants are. And then there's some other products that travel well, or if we need to bring stuff in, we can bring it in a different port. So most of our business currently is in the Tola region, kind of Gulf Coast region, but we have some customers all over that we support.
Okay. And then when let's say you're in a region northeast or somewhere that, you know, you don't have a lot of foothold in, how are you sourcing transport when you need it? I mean, is it word of mouth? Is it
Calling people like you.
yeah, yeah? I mean, so it goes back to
Yeah,
relationships.
Yeah, you're nationwide, right? And so again, it's a phone call to someone like you that have a good relationship and can trust that you're going to point me
Yeah.
to the right person, or say, hey, I've got a couple customers that lease these trailers from me, so I know they've got 407s. Give them a call.
Yeah.
And again, that helps their business, helps your business, and helps our business. And so, yeah, I've got a question back to you. I mean, we're talking about importing, we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about all this stuff, and you know, with the current administration, they're wanting to bring back American manufacturing. I
Yeah.
think that's already been a big push, and we've seen some dollars move back this way. You know, from your company's standpoint, what are you guys projecting, or what's your I would say 12 to 24, 36 outlook on what that's going to look like as far as that? Because I think that's been one of your niches, always has been that you've kind of done really well going into some of these plants and helping them set up with temporary storage.
Yeah,
and stuff, so.
yeah. So on that front, I don't think it's going to change too much. I mean, we do a lot with the plants on project turnarounds, plant shutdowns, things like that. That normal maintenance is going to stay in place, but you know, on the tariff side and just imports, what we're seeing is, and I just got an email this morning from NTTC. Trump is looking to impose aluminum and steel tariffs coming into the U.S. And some of our trailer manufacturers have plants in Mexico, Canada. You know, so if that happens, they're going to have to use their plants in Wisconsin or California, and labor costs are higher there than they are at least in Mexico. I don't know the labor costs in Canada. So definitely could go back into costs of trailers are going to rise because, you know, cost of materials is more, cost of labor is more, so it just is more expensive to make the trailer. And then two, we've been lucky after COVID, we hit a good run of short lead times on trailers, but we could start seeing those lead times creep back up into the 6, 8, 9 month lead time instead of the 4. Like we just ordered some 412s from a vendor, and I mean, it was really quick turnaround. I think it was 3 months. So,
Okay.
you know, right now being that flexible is great, but that's, you know, when it gets to those longer lead times, I think that's when you lean on a leasing company like us, because hey, you might have the capital and might want to own your equipment, but if you got to wait 11 months to get the equipment, you lose out on that lane or that opportunity to run the business. So,
Absolutely.
you know, it provides different advantages to us, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely monitoring the imports on what they're going to do for steel and aluminum.
How do you see yourselves positioned if that does start to creep up? I mean, you guys have a pretty good fleet, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I would say we're one of the largest leasing fleets in the nation. So we've definitely got available equipment sitting on the 407, 412 side. So not worried there. And between Laura, our VP of operations, Keith, our GM, and Krish, our owner, they've got long-standing vendor relationships with some of the biggest trailer manufacturers, So I don't see it being an issue. It's just another hurdle to navigate, you know.
Cost of goods.
Cost of goods. Yeah. So, I mean, and it'll definitely be an interesting time back half of the year to see what kind of shakes out on that realm. But we were talking about fleets and things like that. I wanted to see, we talked about reaching out to people where those networks are, but you brought up AI. And I had kind of thought about talking about AI in a standpoint of what you're going to use going forward, like how to automate some processes. But it's really interesting that you talked about AI in a sense of some opportunities to move product into those data centers and things like that. But is there any big technological advances that you're monitoring that might be good to, you know, start those processes in your company? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially our size, right? So when we're competing with the 800-pound gorillas in our industry, I mean, one of the ways that we win is just by being faster. You know, I won't name any names, but there's some companies that take 3 or 4 days just to get an answer back on a quote on a price, and then there's a 7-day lead time. And right, and so by the time they quote you, I've probably already delivered the product.
Yeah.
And so to that point, what makes us more efficient and makes us faster and makes us better is yeah, we absolutely have some AI tools. We have some AI tools on the lead generation side. Again, right? So we only have 24 hours in the day, and we've got a total of 4 guys, including myself, running around on the sales side. And so how do I shrink that time to go prospect and do that? And we've got some tools on that side that we use. I've got a really cool tool, and I think you and I discussed it. It's called Read AI. So any Teams meeting or any Google meetings that I set up that we have through the computer, but video virtual meeting, it actually takes a synopsis of the whole conversation.
Yeah.
It really writes your notes for you. If there's any action items or follow-ups, it does that. So again, it's just alleviating some of the paper pushing processes, or going back and, you know, your notes are right there and gives you follow-up items and all that. So we use tools like that. Obviously, ChatGPT and Grok, that type of stuff is really valuable for certain things to make. Again, it's just to make things faster. Now, from a ERP or process standpoint, yet we haven't thoroughly investigated some of that stuff. That's something that is on my plate to do. I definitely think there's a lot of value in it from that side. But again, man, from a sales standpoint, I don't think anything beats something like this, where you're face to face with someone, or on the phone, or grab a coffee or whatever. You're not really able to dig out the pain points and issues as well, in my opinion.
at least not in this industry yet. I mean, with AI, it's not there.
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. You can go on Amazon and buy a bottle of bleach, or you can you could even buy a tote of Citric 50. But those people that are doing that, are probably DIYers or something like that. And but then you've got the other whole industrial side of the business and the actual structured side of the business that are buying bulk loads and full truckloads of totes and drums. And so there's both. But in our space, what we're doing, we're not on that retail side of the business. We're more on the industrial and commercial side of the business. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're pretty plugged in with the chemical industry. So I would ask you, what do you think the outlook for just chemical manufacturing, chemical trading next 3 to 5 years? What's some issues that y'all might face, or what's some potential tailwinds that might boost the industry? Yeah.
So, we touched on COVID era a little bit. There was a lot of folks, and I say this knowing that I'm one of them, small business, but there's a lot of businesses that popped up out of COVID, especially on the chemical distribution and trading side, just because if you could find it, you could move it.
It was the Wild West in chemicals during COVID, man.
Yeah, so I definitely see some consolidation. I see some folks probably closing their doors. Right, I still have the theory of abundance. There's a lot out there, but there's and I won't say bad actors, but just because you can sell a chemical doesn't mean you should sell a chemical. There are some regulatory things behind certain chemicals. There's a lot of non-haz stuff, but there's haz stuff, and so I think you're going to see some consolidation. You'll see some. I think there's going to be some M&A activity in some of the mid-sized chemical distribution side, and then also on the. I think you're going to see a lot of assets and a lot of M&A on not necessarily just contract manufacturing, but folks that have pots and pans. With this big push to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. There's a lot of aging equipment here, and there's a lot of small mom and pop businesses that you've got owners that don't have kids that want to take over their business or don't think that that's sexy because it's not TikTok or Instagram, and so I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of that as well.
Now, is private equity playing as big a role in that space as they are in transportation and environmental services?
I'm not as familiar with how big it is in your space right now, but I would venture to say yes, right? Because they're cohesive industries. They work together a lot. I mean, again, you're on the transportation side for a lot of industrial products, and we're the step, I guess, in front of that.
You're the people providing the products.
Correct. And so I think PE's very interested, and I think they're more interested right now in more of the specialty side. Just margins are better, and you don't have to have as much infrastructure and folks on that side. But I think it'll trickle into more commodity stuff as well over the next 3 to 5 years. It'll be interesting. And then again, as these tariffs and things shake out, China just makes so much stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also things that China makes that we don't want to make. Just for the input process, some of that stuff's really nasty. I don't know that we want to bring some of that manufacturing back over. So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. But no, man, overall, I think this year is going to be a little bumpy, just in general on raw material and chemical side. On what I'll call your precursors or your bases that go into some of these things, but long term, if manufacturing grows in the U.S., which it should with what's going on and onshoring some of this stuff, there's going to be a more of a need for that. Again, more data centers, chip manufacturing, all those guys use different chemicals.
Yeah.
So yeah, cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, there was a report in Bulk Transporter that Jason McDaniel brought up when he was on that truck, like liquid bulk GDP, is on pace to beat the national average GDP. So that's got to come from somewhere, right? I mean, it's got to come in hand with more people producing things and moving commodities, right?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I'm trying to keep a bit of an eye on, though, as well, is just the aging infrastructure that we have in the U.S., especially from a chemical manufacturing standpoint, and where I know it best in the Gulf region, right? A lot of those plants are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. Be it where we live, you've got natural disasters, you got hurricanes, you got all kinds of stuff that come through. Had some freezes in the last few years, so that's always a mild concern. But from from a company like ours that's a little bit more smaller and nimble, when one of the major manufacturers calls for a force majeure or things happen, it typically benefits us because, again, we move faster. We've got different sources and inlets and outlets for a lot of that stuff. But as we onshore stuff and bring stuff back to the U.S., there's going to be some. I think there's going to be some growing pains and some issues on the infrastructure side. So hopefully that can get solved, and that's way above my pay grade. But
but with any issues, there's always potential gains for somebody that's willing to solve them in a creative and innovative way. So maybe that's Portage.
Well, we'll see. That's more power and infrastructure in that side. So
Yeah.
I think we'll stick to the chemicals and raw materials on our side.
Yeah. But, I want to kind of wrap this thing up by asking anybody that starts a business. I always say, what's something, and I know it's still new, it's 2 years into it, but what's something that you know now that you wish you would have known 2 years ago when you first started?
So this is my third, I guess we call it my third stint into the entrepreneurial world, but that's a good question. There's a lot that right, you can Monday morning quarterback it or play run back the playbook, but with anything, right, especially in entrepreneurship, it just takes time. You have lofty goals and you want to set goals, you want to push and do that, but it takes time. I mean, we had 2 customers last year that were my top 2 customers, and both of them haven't done any business with us this year, and a lot of that was just from opportunity to products to what was going on in the market, in those particular markets we were serving. Nothing that we did. It wasn't that we lost them over
Service
anything
or
other.
anything like that. No.
Just market shifting and changing in products, and so it's almost like hitting the reset button on that, and so it just takes time. 5 years is really, I mean, if you're going to get into it, you really have to have a kind of 3 and 5 year outlook. 3 is just to kind of get to that hump, to solid base, and then 5 years, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but a lot of businesses fail within the first 5 years. And so just kind of pushing through and being creative and being adaptable has been big. Another thing is just human psychology. I love my team, but managing people while still growing a book of business, while running a company, it's got its challenges, it's got its rewards as well. But that's something that if I go back 2 years, just human psychology and how to manage people and how to also manage that business and continue to grow it. So there's always it's always a push and pull and so, but it's been fun, man. It's been a fun journey. It's we're trying to grow the thing. We're pushing. I hope for my guys it's wildly successful. And I think we're on the right track and on the right path, and just again continue to try to do right by people and just keep growing the network. Keep working with folks like you. Maybe you can lift us up and keep us rolling. But
yeah, man, I would say be on the lookout for Portage Trading if y'all need any type of chemical or different commodity. Definitely reach out to Carl. Where can they find you, Carl?
So we've got a website. It's www.portagetradingco.com. Got guys running around. You can always reach out to me or reach out to you, and you can get them over to me. But we're headquartered out of New Braunfels. I'm based here out of Houston, and we get around. So appreciate the opportunity, appreciate the time, appreciate the friendship, and everything that you've done for me as personally and professionally over the last 7 years, man. And excited for the podcast for you to see where everything goes.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And excited to see where Portage goes. Excited to see where Matt Lack and myself fit in to help you guys with y'all's needs. And here's to the next 10 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for your time, Alex.
Thank you for tuning in to Chemical Reactions presented by Matlack Leasing. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time. Special thanks to Matlack Leasing, presenting sponsor of our podcast. When it comes to liquid bulk trailer leasing, Matlack is your go-to expert. Whether you're transporting chemicals, food-grade products, or other liquids, Matlack Leasing provides the reliable trailers you need for safe and efficient delivery. Choose Matlack Leasing for unmatched quality and service. Visit matlackleasing.com today to learn more.